Hello, everyone. This is Jerry Clark at clubrhino.net, and we are here at the Jim Rohn Leadership event. And we have a special treat with us today. We have an individual who's really doing something to give back to the community, to really assist what we all call our future, which is the youth. The youth are our future. And Orrin Hudson, what he's been doing is really sharing with disadvantaged youths all around the country in various parts of the world how they can tap into their potential and bring it out and actually be someone. As a matter of fact, the name of his organization is besomeone.org. And so we have him here. He's been featured in all kinds of programs as far as CNN. It's been featured in USA Today, and I can just go on and on. There's just too many to really list. As a matter of fact, I'm going to have him share a little bit about some of the places that he's been and what he's done. And Orrin, we want to welcome you here at the Jim Rohn Leadership Weekend. Just welcome you to the program here.
Mr. Clark, it's so honored to be here.
Now tell us about what you're doing in regards to, why do you do what you do in regards to spending so much time and energy and effort and really assisting the youth, being able to break out from maybe some of their self-limited situation that they grew up with?
Well, I'm watching television and I see on the news where 7 people were taken in the freezer in a restaurant and shot in the head for $2,000. And it really stunned me. And I said, what can I do to make a difference? So I took everything and all the resources that I had to put together a program called Be Someone. It's a crime prevention program to teach children how to think it out instead of shoot it out. Mm-hmm. My program was developed because I believe that our children are our future and someone has to take a stand and actually do something. A lot of people talking about doing it, but most people won't act. So I decided to take action. Jim Rohn said to me many, many years ago how Abraham Lincoln's mother, before she died, she told him to be someone. And Abraham Lincoln took those words all the way to the White House, even though he had failed many times running for office. He took those 2 words, be someone, all the way to the White House. And all I'm doing now, just like Jim Rohn says, words are powerful. I'm putting those words back in the universe, and I'm living my dream.
Now, how long ago was this that you actually started this process of working with the youth?
2000. I've been working with youth all along, all my life, but I never really started an organization until 2000 when this event actually happened. And there I said, wait a minute, someone has to take a stand. But this is when I really started.
Now, what do? Do you actually do workshops? Do you go to different school systems? Or how do you actually, find the children to work with, and actually, what's the process of you actually working with them?
Okay, I have a mobile program where I go in a particular school, and for 45 minutes, I transform them. My program is about transformation. It's about teaching children one thing, that there's hope. And I go in and I use a chessboard, and I show them how the principles of chess apply to life. How to think, concentrate, plan, pattern recognition. See, the key to success in any field is pattern recognition. The more patterns you know, the more successful you'll be. I was driving my car downtown the other day, and the lady said, how did you win all those lights? I said, I know the pattern. So pattern recognition is the key to success in all fields.
Now, give us more example of this pattern recognition, and how can we use this pattern recognition? Because it sounds like it's not just for children, it's for everyone. Anyone can use this information. So tell us a little bit more about it. I know some people are probably saying, this is interesting.
Okay. I can play 100 people at one time chess. Why? I know the pattern. I go there, snap, take a picture. Go, snap, take a picture. And all in life is the same way. After a certain time, the sun go down. If you use the word please, thank you, yes ma'am, and no ma'am, this is a pattern that you can use to open doors. They said, Orrin, how were you able to get this done? I said, well, I know the pattern. I'm always nice. I'm always trying to help others first. I'm always delivering value up first to people, and that's a pattern. Well, when you start giving people what they want, you can get what you want. The lady said, well, how did you get on CNN? How did you get this? I said, I do good work. And when you do good work, it's a pattern. This pattern will just duplicate over and over. So how did you get on the front page of USA Today? It's a pattern. You do good work and the word will get out.
And so is that how Jane Fonda called you on your cell phone?
Jane Fonda called me on my cell phone. I said, this Jane Fonda, I'm President Bush. She said, this is really Jane Fonda. I said, wow. She said, can you come to Atlanta? I said, no way. So, but now I'm in Atlanta doing some things. I did some stuff for her program, which I thank God for James. She really opened some doors for me, and I'm very thankful for her. It's almost like Jane discovered me.
Wow.
Because, guy in the housing project, 13 brothers and sisters, very poor coming up. But, Jane, called me. So I'm very flattered for that call.
So did you do well in school growing up, or did you have challenges?
Well, I had a lot of challenge. I'm 15, 13 years old, and I'm still in inner tubes. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm still in inner tubes, and I'm selling them for 25 cents. In comes this white mentor at this all-black school. He said, listen, Ori, he said, every action you have has consequences. I said, what do you mean? He said, sit down here, let me show you this chessboard. And he mentors me in chess for 4 years. And it turned my life around. So I learned this, and the next thing you know, I hear about Jim Rohn. So I didn't have a lot of money, so I go to the library. I said, I need a book on Jim Rohn. She said, we don't have any. I said, well, can you order one from another library? She said, yes. So they ordered me one of Jim Rohn's books from what was in Seattle. The library in Seattle had it, so it was free because I didn't have money. So she ordered this book, and I read this book, and some of the ideas I learned from Jim Rohn turned my life around.
Now, what were some of those ideas?
Well, I think the main thing I learned from Jim Rohn that really helped me was that for my life to get better, I had to get better. For my life to change, I had to change. I thought it was the projects. I thought it was, my brothers that was the reason I was doing bad, and my mom. But I found out that no one was coming to the rescue. That if it was to be, it was up to me.
And so over this period of time, as you're working with the students, do you give them some of the same messages that you learned from Jim Rohn? Or?
Constantly. I bought all of Jim Rohn products since then, and I've really been a fan of Jim Rohn because I can see how the principles that he shared with me, they worked. I mean, I've accomplished so much because of Jim Rohn. I was a top salesman in Kenny Shoes when I worked there. I did this. I mean, just so much I've done. I won so many awards, outstanding this, outstanding that. It's just, the pattern's just over and over and over.
And that's because you give outstanding service. And so once you give outstanding service and so forth, or when you give good, you're saying that good come back. It's kind of like the law of the universe, the law of the boomerang, the law of reciprocity and so forth. Is that what you're talking about?
I'm talking about if you give the universe your best, the universe will give back its best to you, day in and day out. And that's a pattern. And it's called, don't just satisfy the customer, delight the customer. Do more than you pay. Go the extra mile. Read the books. Learn as much as you can to serve and help others. I tell my children when I'm teaching them that the most important thing on the universe is whether you're making a difference and having integrity. And I tell them success is not money. Success is not a car. It's not a house. Success is making a difference while you're here. Making a difference, having integrity, and helping others.
So now these children, because some of them are, disadvantaged children and so forth, they have different backgrounds, different environments that they are coming from. So how do you get the message across to them in regards to some of these success principles that make a difference? What tends to be the way that opens them up a little bit and go, wow, yeah, I think this, is it the chess analogy or exactly is it?
I think I show them how I used to be. I was raised in a housing project, 13 brothers and sisters. I was so poor that if it cost me a penny to go around the world, I couldn't get out of sight. And I show them this, and I kind of can relate to them. I say, okay, listen, I've been where you are, and here's some things that I've done. I did this, and they did that, and this came. And they said, well, how did you win this? You go in this tournament, you're the lowest seed, you're the only African American in there, and you walk out and you win this tournament. How did you do that? And I tell them my story. And once they see, they go, okay, wow, if he can do it, then I can do it. And I teach them, yes, I can. I can do anything if I believe. This is a song that I put together for them. Yes, I can. They can do anything anyone else can do. All they got to do is get around the right people and make sure they spend good time with good people and bad time with bad people, and no time with bad people.
Now, do you have any success stories of some of the students that you've worked with over the years? Because from what I believe, it's been 15,000 or so plus students? Or
15,000 kids. I think my most successful story that I've ever heard was a kid was going to kill himself, but decided not to. His best friend had killed himself, so he was going to kill himself that day. Well, I show up in the school, and he said I just changed his life. So I think that was a good story. But some of my success stories is I've coached some elementary kids. We beat 2 middle schools, a high school, and college in chess. We got little kids beating in college. And what was so funny, I tried to interview some of the college students, and I said, give me your name. Oh, I'm not giving you my name. They didn't want to give me their name.
They don't want to admit that they got beat by the elementary children.
Right. So I think those are some good things. And I coached this school to win all the tournaments they played in 3 school chess championships. So those are some of the success stories. But TBS is going to run a story on me coming up August the 19th, where I work with a kid who used to carry guns and rob, and his mom said I really turned his life around.
And this is 2004 when this is going to run.
Right.
So some people who are watching or listening to this information has probably already happened. But
2004, August 19th at 9 p.m. prime time, they're going to run a story on me. I won the education award. But I do what I do because I care, you know, and I'm very concerned about our youth. Our future is our youth, and I'll get a phone call someday, and they'll say, or you know what, the strategies and techniques that you taught me enabled me to become president, doctor, whatever I want to be, because I'm showing these children some patterns that you can get anything in life you want.
What are 2 or 3 of the major patterns or principles that you teach these children that you think is important for everyone to know?
I think number 1 is integrity. I think integrity. Everyone wants to hire someone with integrity, and if you have integrity, it will open doors for you that you will not be able to believe. You know, say what you're going to do, what you say you're going to do, and make sure when you say something, that's what it is. And I think that's how I've achieved so much success. I tell people like it is. I'm straight up. I'm very honest with people. And my integrity has really opened doors for me, because if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. If I, whatever. So integrity is number 1. That's job 1. I think number 2 is when I was a state trooper, I learned this. I was a state trooper for 6 years. I had the blue light, the badge, and the gun. But everyone I met, I treated them, this is my rule, better than I want to be treated. Don't treat them better. This is the golden rule multiplied. You treat them better than you want to be treated. Yes, I had the blue light, and I guarantee you, I stopped some people, and they were smiling after I stopped, and they go, man, I'm glad you stopped me. I've got so many thank you letters from writing people tickets. It's unbelievable, because I treat them like they're better than I want to be treated. I'm very fair. I stopped the car one time. I told my blue light on, and I get up there and I go, wait a minute, it's 2 BMWs. I go, oops, I'm going back. You can go. He said, why you let me go? Because I'm not sure. You see that BMW? Yeah. I said, you can go. And this is the type thing. You have to be fair, because I have to sleep at night. I make sure that when I do something that it's straight up. So I guess number 2 would be treating people better than you want to be treated. And number 3 would probably go the extra mile. When you go the extra miles, there's no traffic jams. When you do more than you're paid for, when you delight the customer, when you focus on how can you add value for others, miracles happen. And that's why I'm in the USA Today, because these things happen. The guy said, if I prove that what you told me checks out, I'm gonna do a story on this. And I said, well, the story is done. He said, why do you say it? I said, because I'm straight up. If I tell you something, if I tell you I volunteer to help this, it's solid. You call the principal. He called, he said, Orrin, your story checked out. I said, I knew all along it's gonna check out.
Right. So now, what is your goal, and what is your mission? What is your objective right now with your organization? It's at besomeone.org.
My goal is to take my program nationwide, and what we're doing has your name on it. I need you, Jerry. I need you involved. I need more people to join me in my efforts to make the world better. I thank God for Jane Fonda. She put together a video for me. You can take a look at it at my website, besomeone.org, where she tells people to join me in my efforts to make the world better. We have to figure out that we all are interconnected, that no man is an island, that I cannot be what I ought to be until you are what you ought to be, and you, Jerry, cannot be what you ought to be until I am what I ought to be. So we all are interconnected, and we have to find ways, new ways, to make this world better.
Great. So it sounds like a lot of good things are happening, and they are happening because you're utilizing some of these principles by noticing some of these patterns that we all can benefit from, and everyone really deserves to contribute to your cause and what you're doing, because you're really making an impact and making a difference to the future. Without the future of the youth, then there really won't be a future that's worth looking forward to, at least anyway, right?
Exactly.
So anyway, we want to thank you for taking the time to share some of your insight and your knowledge about your program, besomeone.org. And we suggest that everyone go there and find out more about your program. You say you have a video on there that they can watch as well?
A video on there, besomeone.org, several videos. You can click on the CNN video and other things that we've been doing. And you can also click on the documentary that TBS put together for me for the Education Award. So very proud of TBS for acknowledging me, and I thank God for Jane Fonda.
Excellent. All right. Well, everyone, it's been another Power Tip interview here at the Jim Rohn event. This is a Jim Rohn leadership event. Jim Rohn at jimrohn.com. Suggest you guys go there and make sure you pick up some additional insights from Jim Rohn, as Orrin has over the years as well. And we just want you to keep charging, and we also want you to go, go, go. Woo! Hello, everyone. This is Jerry DeRhino Clark at clubrhino.net, and we are here at the Jim Rohn Leadership Event here in Anaheim, California. And we have an individual with us in the studio who happens to be the master coach for the Jim Rohn International Coaching Program. His name is T.C. Cummings, and this individual has been actually coaching for quite a while now and has just recently become the master coach for Jim Rohn International. He's also a former Navy SEAL, so we really want to learn how do you get that Navy SEAL mental toughness. TC, welcome to the program.
Hey, great to be here.
Now, TC, in regards to former Navy SEALs, how does one become a former Navy SEALs? I mean, in other words, what's in your mind to get you to want to become a Navy SEALs? What's going on there?
It's about loving challenge. You gotta love. You want to play big. The SEALs. When I say you want to play big, you've really got to want to play big. Give you an idea. 154 men started in my class to become a SEAL. Most of these guys had wanted to be SEALs all their lives.
Wow.
And 18 of us became SEAls.
Wow.
So when you really ridiculously got to want to play big.
So now, tell us a little bit about this program, because this correlates to success in life. You know, some of these principles that you have to go through, because just about 90% of the people who all their life they wanted to be, Navy SEALs, and then they didn't make it through the program. Not that they couldn't have made it, but for some reason, the mental toughness, because I'm sure they all had the physique, they were all strong, they were all powerful, they all did all the preliminary working out and all that. So tell us a little bit about that.
In fact, Jerry, most of the guys that were the biggest were the first ones to quit.
Wow.
Because they weren't used to losing. And the mental toughness is not about winning. It's about what do you do under adverse or opportunity conditions. What do you do? Do you react or do you respond?
What's the difference between reacting and responding?
It's an excellent question. When we react, we're coming from a programmed egotistical place. We're either reacting aggressively or passively. Oh, I'm not good enough. Hey, does everybody see how cool I am? Reactive. When we're responding and you say, hey, you did a great job, thank you. What was great about it? I'm responding, I'm doing it on purpose. Response is on purpose. Reactive is our ego. So nothing wrong with that, because we are all very ego, we have a lot of ego, and we're all reactive. When we shut down that reactive nature, we become more clear, because when we are doing things on purpose, we are choosing who we're going to be with. We're choosing who we're going to surround ourselves with. We're choosing the path we're going to take. And when you're sitting in freezing water, it's not really freezing water. When you're sitting in the water and you are freezing, because the evaporation process, you get cold. Right. No matter how long you stay there, when the water comes over you and then it goes away, you get cold. When the cold hits, where's your mind? Are you a victim? Are you going to react? Or are you going to respond? In my mind, I would respond by saying, I am so cold, but there's other guys that are still here. I'm not dead yet, so I can keep doing this.
Wow.
Other guys would react and say, I'm out of here, I quit. I remember very clearly in my mind, the biggest guy, this guy could do pull-ups till the cows came home, he could run, he could carry people, he could do one-arm rope climbs, and that's pretty impressive. Grab 2 ropes. He quit, bam, like that. And as soon as he quit, 6 other guys said, my God, if he can't make it, I can't make it. They all quit. Reactivity. They weren't choosing. These men, their minds, they chose. I want this goal. The biggest goal I've ever wanted is this. Along comes a distraction. Are you going to react to it, or are you going to respond? Your son, when he was younger, he's poking at you, daddy, 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 daddy. If you say, what do you want? You're reacting.
Right.
You'd never choose to do that. If you put your arm around him and say, you wait until I'm done talking with your mother. That's a response. That's what you're choosing. So the same thing is true with making money, any of our relationships. The biggest element, though, of course, is our relationship with ourselves. And are we reactive with ourselves? With Jim Rohn International Coaching, we support an environment that gets to show this out of people. So you get to see your own reactivity or your responsiveness, because reactivity is weak. It's disempowering. It's not bad. It's human. But proactivity, taking the opportunity by the horns. I mean, just look at yourself and what you've created. Very much at cause. If you did it because I'll show them, it's reactive. If you did it because I can, I need to, it's my destiny to fulfill. I've got a talent, I need to put it to use. I choose to be successful. That's where the power is.
So is that what happened with you when you were going through some of these challenges that you go through for the Navy SEAL program, for example, is, for example, one of the things you were in the water, freezing cold water. What are some of the other things that really kind of test your mental toughness? And what are some of the other reasons why some of the people quit, basically, and just didn't make it?
The biggest reason of all, being an individual. I'm different than them because fill in the blank.
Right.
I'm special because fill in the blank. I'm not good enough because fill in the blank. Seeing yourself removed from the whole, that weakens us. In our mind, we think I'm special, I'm powerful, but overall it weakens us. And whether you're, for example, log PT, I know I've seen that on the Discovery Channel, so a lot of your viewers, maybe even you have seen log PT. We take a telephone pole, we do sit-ups with a telephone pole across our chest. We have a team, and if the whole team doesn't sit up at once, then one guy is doing all the work himself, and the other guys are getting fatigued because now the guy who's exhausted, he stops and they start working, so everybody's getting exhausted. Push-ups, bench press, overhead press. You try and lift I cannot lift a telephone pole by myself, not these telephone poles. However, together, all of us, no problem. And then run with it. However, the moment somebody thinks he's not a part of the team, I'm special because, or I don't trust them, therefore I won't participate, it's like cancer. He removes himself from the healthy unit, and he does his own thing. And of course, if I'm on a team with, say, 6 guys and we're doing, we're paddling a boat through the surf, if we're not all paddling, then we're going to be spinning in circles. One side is pushing, the other side's not doing anything. We see out of the corner of our eye, this guy's not participating. We want to be on the same sheet of music. If I quit because, oh no, here comes water, well then I've just doomed us to be dumped. Now, the fact that we all continue stroking doesn't guarantee a success, but we are guaranteed failure when we break the bond. When we break the team, we're guaranteed to fail.
Wow, that's pretty powerful, yeah.
There's another element to that. When we all dump together, that sucked. Okay, let's do it again. Because we're together.
Right.
We were together, and we did our best together.
So basically, it's true with what they say, together everyone achieves more. That's what the whole acronym of team. I know Mark Victor Hansen, I was with him not too long ago, he said together everyone achieves miracles. Yeah. And so it's very important to operate as a team and to have a team for your personal life, for your professional life, for whatever you're doing. If you're in an athletic situation or you're in the Navy SEALs, all this team is a very important part of the whole equation. Is that something you guys teach at the Jim Rohn International Coaching Program? Is the importance of team? Is that one of the concepts too?
That's one of the concepts we definitely support. And because we don't tell people what to do,
right?
We do fisher out things. So if I have a client that is going to go solo, great. What kind of support system do you have? Well, I don't need a support system. Okay. Where have you seen that work? Nowhere? Okay. So what, are you going to be the first person to do this, to go to the moon by herself? Okay, I get where you're going. So at least having a coach on your team, at least you're not alone there. Right. You have somebody to talk to when you're being reactive, when you're losing your cool. And reactivity is not always losing your cool. Sometimes it's being distracted by something that looks appealing. How many times have we bought something we don't need? Reactivity.
When you look at the Navy SEALs and you look at the coaching, have you integrated with your coaching that you do? Have you integrated some of these lessons that you've learned through the Navy SEALs And if so, what are some of those lessons? What are some of the top lessons that you learned through the Navy SEALs that you integrate pretty much throughout your coaching programs with Jim Rohn International?
You can hear my eagerness. I want to jump right in. That in itself is an entire book. For myself, I can say the most profound. We had a saying in the SEAL teams, they don't know what they don't know. SEALs operate at such a level, Jerry, that it doesn't make any sense to anyone else. One person works a gun that requires 3 in the rest of the military of the world. 3 guys required to work this gun. SEALs don't have that luxury. We've got an 8-man squad. 1 man's got to carry that gun and the bullets and you do the whole thing. So not a lot of people can really relate when we do things. It takes us almost no time to do the things we're going to do. Why? Because we don't have any ties. We don't have any other responsibilities. I got to go. There's a movie called Navy SEAls where with Charlie Sheen. Charlie Sheen, yes. Yeah, and there's a scene where the beepers go off during a wedding. That's real. That actually happened, and it wasn't uncommon.
And you got to take off.
You got to go. You've got a very small, and it's nothing personal, honey. I love you. I got to go. Bye. When are you going to be back? Later. Where are you going? Out of town.
Wow.
When will you be back? Or how long will you be gone? The whole time. Just big ambiguity, and and
you got to be that way though,
so
right?
You can hear the real heroes, right?
Right.
Are the wives. Any woman who sticks with that.
Yeah, for sure.
So not only do you have to, no one else in the military, not no one, very few people, there are elite factions could relate to that. They don't know what they don't know. When we go to do something and it's impossible. You can't get there from here. Okay, well, they don't know what they don't know. I flipped that around on myself. I don't know what I don't know. And when I did that, my level of humility went up, my ego got a little smaller, and I started to listen and reach out to the Jerrys of the world and just say, I'd get on your website and start reading. What does this guy, even if I know 9 out of 10 elements that you're bringing up here, that 10th one might make all the pieces of the puzzle come together. I don't know what I don't know. The truth is I don't know what I'm missing. So the coaching, what I'm doing, what we do as coaches is we ask the tough, uncomfortable questions. Insightful, stimulating questions and dig things up, because otherwise I'm perfect. No, I'm great.
Exactly.
I'm great. I'm exactly where I want, who I am. Well, our character determines what we have. So.
Wow. And what's the main concerns or questions that people have who go through the Jim Rohn International Coaching Program, in which you're a master coach? So I'm sure you see all these questions. You hear all these questions. So what's the main challenges, or what's the main thing that they want to overcome, and how do you guys assist them in doing that?
Hands down, there's one challenge, and that's doubt. That is doubt.
Wow.
And we all handle doubt differently, and we have different levels of success based on how we handle the doubt. And as one of my multimillionaire clients says, the way I was doing it, that supported me to the level of success I got. But then it was also my ceiling. The way I was handling my doubt was also my ceiling. So what we look for with Jim Rohn International is confidence, certainty. Not to eliminate doubt, but rather to replace it. What do I know? A guy goes off to a sales meeting. He's fidgeting. He's nervous. His shoulders are tight.
Right.
Why? Because they might not like me. They might not buy. They might not. They. I'm a victim of their choosing. They're the cause of my reaction, as opposed to I'm the cause of my action. I show up. I'm on time. I dressed appropriately. I'm prepared. Whether they show up or not, whether they like me or not, I don't care. It's nothing personal. I do my job. My product speaks for itself. I'm going to give the best delivery. If they don't like me, they don't like me. That's okay. Next.
Wow.
And that's where the confidence comes in. And this confidence, Jerry, just like you, I know it'd be amazing to switch seats and learn about you. There was a time when suddenly people became more attracted to you. It's that confidence. And it's not a bogus confidence. It's not the facade. The facade is useful for short periods of time. But you and I can see right through it.
That's right.
We go, oh, here's a guy that doesn't want to show me the truth. Okay, And there you are. But that doesn't mean I want to go do business with him.
Now, how do they work on this confidence? For example, how do they work on this confidence? For example, you have people who are listening or watching right now, and they're saying, okay, great, I got to increase my confidence. How do I increase my confidence? What can I do to increase my confidence level?
I had that question asked to me about 19 years ago. And I asked the man, do you make your bed every day? And he got angry with me. What does that have to do with anything? I'm asking you to help me with my discipline. I need more confidence, and you're asking me if I make my bed every day. That's right.
So he reacted to that question.
And then, of course, he said, no, I make my bed sometimes, once in a while. So here's your assignment. Make your bed every day for the next 6 out of the next 7 days, and then we'll talk. Free of charge.
Wow.
There's no charge to this. If you do this, and the assignment wasn't, I'm going to fix you. The assignment is, this is your price to go any farther. If you're going to go any further with me, you're going to make your bed 6 out of the next 7 days. Can you do that?
Wow.
Yeah, but I don't see how that's going to... Do you trust me or not? Okay. 5 days later, he calls me up. Oh my God, you cannot believe the things I'm getting done. Because he starts the day off with action. On purpose. Seeing himself as the creator. I chose to take this action. I am doing this on purpose. What else can I do?
Wow.
As opposed to starting the day off with, man, who am I? I don't even make my bed in the morning. Yeah, nobody sees it but me.
Wow.
So there we are.
Now, TC, does everyone need a coach? Why is it important for people to have a coach? For someone saying, well, I can read the books, I can listen to the tapes, I'll go to seminars every now and then. Do I really need to take it to the next level and really get a coach? What would you say to someone like that who's kind of figuring out if they even need a coach? I've already read all, Jim Rohn's material, I've listened to his tapes, and so why should I go to jimrohn.com and actually, sign up for a coaching program, or find out even if I should go ahead and be engaged in a coaching program? What would you say to someone like that?
Not everyone needs a professional coach. Here's the truth though. If you got a gnarly team behind you, gnarly, like GNARLY, if you got a team that's gonna kick your butt and hold you accountable, it's all about respect, then you don't need a coach, provided you're getting the attention you need. You got somebody who's gonna say, okay, the next 40 minutes is all about you. I'm gonna ask you some questions. And you go, yes, I need you to. Kick my butt, go on. Because I'm the easiest person for me to lie to. I don't know about you, but I am the easiest person for me to lie to. Therefore, I need a coach because I need somebody to get in there and root around. The top producers in the world, they know all this stuff. Are they using it, yes or no? That's the question the coach asks. Are they using it?
Wow.
And that's what the coach supports, is the mental awareness, the elevated mindset of, are you being the person you want to be? And if not, what can you do to make that happen?
Now, how do people find out about the Jim Rohn International Coaching Program? How would they email you, I guess, and find out more about it? Is there a way to find out about it, I guess? Okay.
Two things. Email TC Cummings, TC Cummings, 2 M's, at jimrohn.com, or just go to the website, www.jimrohn.com.
And they'll be able to click on coaching, or be able to email from there. Be able to email someone
click
from
on
there.
coaching, and you can email from there.
Right there. Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Rohn, R-O-H-N.
Okay, and Cummings, T-C-C-U-M-M-I-N-G-S.
Correct.
All right, excellent. Well, we appreciate you for taking the time to share powerful insights, and there's a lot more there. You haven't written a book yet, have you?
Still working on it.
It's time for a book to come out. I can really
close.
see all these strategies that you've learned and so forth, just through your experience with Navy SEALs. Even that right there is a whole book in and of itself.
Sure.
With all the coaching and all the input that you've given people, that you've impacted a lot of people's lives. I'm looking forward to reading that book.
I'm looking forward to autographing it for you.
All right, there you go. Excellent. Thank you, TC. I appreciate it. Everyone, it's Jerry Clark, ClubRhino.net, here at the Jim Rohn Leadership Event, and here with TC Cummings of TC Cummings at jimrohn.com. That's how you can contact him and find out more about the coaching program. Everyone deserves to have a coach if everyone desires to go to the top. Until next time, it's Jerry Rhino Clark saying, keep charging, and always remember to go, go, go. Woo!
Hi, this is Chris Widener, and we're at the Jim Rohn Weekend Leadership Event. And as you know, we're doing some interviews, and I have with me Vic Johnson, who's become a good friend of mine, and he's a mover and a shaker in the personal development world. And so we're going to spend the next little bit of time with Vic. So Vic, welcome.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah. Now, Vic is, you're the president of...
AsAManThinketh.net, Goals2004.com, and MP3Motivators.com.
Yeah, good. Well, you are relatively new on the personal development scene, 4 or 5 years where you came in and you started doing things, but personal development's always been a lifelong passion. So can you tell us kind of how you came up and how it was a passion of yours and how you decided to move into it as a place to do your business?
Well, interestingly, Chris, that he's here this weekend, 30 years ago, the first program I ever bought was Dennis Waitley's Psychology of Winning. And I just turned 20 years old, and I fell in love with the industry then. And from Dennis, it was a natural step to Earl Nightingale, and then later to Jim Rohn, and that's how I became a great fan of Jim Rohn's. So, it's something I've had a passion for. I've been in a number of entrepreneurial type businesses all my life. I'm looking for a place to get on the internet. Personal development was a natural because it was a hobby, a love, a passion of mine. I looked on the internet and said, hey, there's a place maybe I can play. And I went, looked up in the records, and the domain AsAManThinketh.net was available. I knew it was a public domain book. I went and got the book, went and got the domain, and the rest, as they say, is kind of history.
I remember when you first contacted me and you were talking about this downloadable book, the As a Man Thinketh, and I had never heard of it. So, and I'd already been in the personal development industry, so, I know that you're exposing a lot of people to James Allen's work, and I think, 200,000 people?
Over 200,000 people have downloaded the book. And an interesting thing here, because also here this weekend is Charlie Tremendous Jones, who I bought my very first copy of As a Man Thinketh from. I was sharing with him out in the hall that he sold it, to me back in 1994. I'd never read the book, I'd never heard of it, and so a lot of great things have happened because he sold me a book that he believed in, and of course we've given the book away to a lot of people ever since.
So tell us the As a Man Thinketh principle and a little bit about James Allen and the whole concept of you become what you think about.
Well, it opens up with the very first line in his book, As a Man Thinks in His Heart, So Is He, which James Allen borrowed that, of course, from Proverbs, and we know that if he were alive today, it'd be gender neutral because as a woman thinks in her heart, so is she too. But basically it is. The Earl Nightingale theme of we become what we think about is, again, just a different way of saying, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. There's a cause and effect, and what we forget is that the result of everything we do started first as a thought. And a lot of times we don't understand that process. But it's a thought turns into a feeling becomes action, actions bring results. And you repeat that process. You do it enough, it becomes a habit. So all habits begin in the form of thought, bad or good. So everything we do is thought-based, and that's the book, As a Man Thinketh. 28 pages, the most powerful 28 pages in literary history as far as I'm concerned, because it seems like every other sentence just jumps off the page at you.
So give us some examples of how that works, because a lot of people are going to be watching the DVDs and they're going to be in different positions in life. How does that work in a bunch of different areas? Well,
it's like this. I think we heard Dennis Waitley this morning, for instance, talking about belief. David Schwartz in his book, The Magic of Thinking Big, says the size of your success will never exceed the size of your belief. All that begins in a thought. So if you're in a job, for instance, and you're trying to get out of that job, you want to get into your own business or whatever, you first got to convince yourself to step away from what you think is that security. So you've got to create that atmosphere within, because what James Allen says is you don't see anything in the outside world that was not first created on the inside world. All begins again as a thought. So if you want to create the environment, for instance, to be in business for yourself, it's going to take changing the inside. It's going to take changing the mentality of being an employee. It's going to take changing the concept of getting paid on Friday, because you as an entrepreneur know that doesn't happen sometimes. So it's a change in the process. The change, it's an enlightenment. Some people might use the word enlightenment. It's a raising of your consciousness. Some people might use that word. But it's changing the way you think, changing your paradigm, as Bob Proctor says. And it applies to whatever it may be, whether it's in sports, whether it's in business, whether it's in religion, or whether it's in politics, whatever it is. You take your spiritual development. What is your spiritual development? Nothing but an evolution of your thought processes, because it all takes place on the inside. The only thing And we stop and think, you have children, I have children, we stop and we think about we try to get our children to do certain things, we try to get our spouse to do certain things, we try to get other people to do certain things, but really the only thing we ever have control over is our own thoughts. That's it. But if we change those thoughts, it's amazing, but everything around us seems to change.
So now this works, people who want to lose weight, people who want to gain more wealth, people who want a better job, better relationships, across the board, changing your
thinking. You know, it's funny because James Allen uses as an example in one of the chapters a wealthy man who wants to lose weight, but he doesn't change his thinking about his eating. And he thinks that money can buy his weight loss, as do how many millions of Americans today, how much money's thrown at the weight loss industry. But guess what? They still think about food the same way that got them fat to begin with. See, the thing is people don't think differently because they're thin. They're thin because they think differently. Thin people think differently than fat people. Watch a thin person and a fat person sit down to eat, and they think differently about food and about what its purpose is and about what it serves. So whether you're trying to lose weight, doesn't matter, whatever it may be, if you want to train yourself in a new habit, you got to first start, again, the process, changing the thought, changes the feeling, changes the action, changes the result.
So let me ask you this. I'm assuming that you think that there's a difference between a thought and a belief. And so it seems to me like if somebody has a belief that's got them in whatever situation they're in, and they truly believe that. For example, I believe I'm only going to be middle class. Say somebody's thinking that, and they're rooted in that. Their parents were middle class, their grandparents were middle class, all their friends are middle class. They don't know anybody who's above middle class, and that's their belief. This is who I am, this is the job that I have. When you're changing your thoughts, and you start putting those thoughts in there, whatever those thoughts might be, how does the thought change the belief? And which is more powerful, and how is the interaction? How can a thought change the belief? Because I'm assuming that what you're talking about is that it's the belief that the thought has to change. Can you talk a little bit about the interaction between thought and belief?
What a belief is, Chris, is nothing more than thoughts reaffirmed and reaffirmed and reaffirmed. They're habitized thoughts is really what a belief is. Deeply ingrained thoughts. They're things that that have been ingrained for many, many years in some cases. For instance, a thought that became a belief of mine because it was something I heard growing up was, don't get your hopes up. Don't get your hopes up. So guess what? I had a belief, almost a belief, a fatalistic belief that I should never get my hopes up because things would never go right. That was a long process for me to change. Some people have a belief that it's wrong to have money. We know money's neutral. It's not what money does. It's in the hands of whoever has the money, which makes it good or bad. But it's the thought that was held on for a long period of time, perhaps reinforced from the outside, from parents, unwittingly sometimes, from teachers, from peers, from outside. And then guess what? We reaffirm ourselves. That internal conversation that goes on the whole time. So if you're going to change a belief, what it's going to take is the same thing that created the belief in the first place. You're going to have to go through that rehabilitation process, and it all begins with changing the thought and reaffirming that thought. And with belief, I believe you'll never give 100% to any attempt that you don't believe in. So if you go out and you set a goal, I see people set goals all the time, they fail in their goals, they fail miserably, and they can't figure it out because they don't have belief in that dream and that vision and that goal. And I believe you can never give 100% to something that you don't believe in. Now, you may make a half-hearted attempt, and I've done that. I've set goals, and you and I have had conversations about goals before and about the power of belief. It's in everything. Belief drives everything we do, but belief is nothing more than reaffirmed thoughts.
So a lot of people talk about repetition, daily affirmations, those kinds of things. Is simply repeating thoughts what changes a belief? What's the step-by-step process? A person sitting here saying, I got to change my belief. I'll start by changing my thoughts. And how does that work?
I think affirmations have a role, but I think it's only part of the process. First, it's a feedback. Dennis Whaley I love because he has that PhD, and he has a way of explaining it from a scientific standpoint where I really understand it. But it's that thought, feeling, action, result process, which then provides feedback, and we go back through the process again. So it's a constant cycle. It's not just changing the thought, because you could sit and change your thoughts all day long about money, but if you never took action, it wouldn't matter, would it? So it's backing up the thought. Affirmations are part of it. Visualization is something that I use a lot. You know, I had to learn to see myself differently, Chris. And when I saw myself differently, people all of a sudden started seeing me differently. So it's not just repeating the same thing over and over and over and over, but I will tell you this, we carry on conversation with ourselves all day long. So the question is, what are you saying to yourself? And if you're saying to yourself, I'm always late, when someone comes to an appointment that we had and they say, I apologize, I'm always late, I can predict with 100% certainty that that person is always late because they have confessed themselves to that point. So I'm constantly on guard against watching what I say to myself, monitoring what I say to myself, not necessarily from an affirmation standpoint, but how do I respond to things? You know, when I see something take place that affects me, how do I respond in my thinking? My friend Mark Chiron said one time, he said, do you ever think about what you're thinking about? It's not it sounds like a play on words, but it's not. Do you monitor what you're thinking about? So it's not just a matter of affirmations, but, you know, I created a certain train of thought that, you know, I eliminated as much of the negative in my life as I possibly could. And because I did, then things started, all of a sudden, the clouds weren't as gray every day. The sky wasn't as gray every day. There wasn't a big black cloud over there. No, did anything in the world change? No, it's just my perception changed because I changed first the way I thought about it.
Now, you brought up, you know, do you think about what you're thinking about? Do you think most people, or what percentage would you say, are even aware of their self-talk, the things that they're saying to themselves, or do most people walk around sort of oblivious to what's running around in their mind all day?
Well, I ran around oblivious for years, Chris, so I can only take my personal experience. I can't get inside of somebody else's head, but if I see the results out there today, I'd have to say that most people don't. Wallace Wattles said sustained thought was the hardest work there is. And I think that a lot of times people, I mean, you know, naturally the human nature is going to be to avoid work. So if you get into something that is that hard, that difficult, it may be something that most people run from, or most people, we have a way of justifying a lot of times, you know, why we are the way we are, or why our life is the way it is. Sometimes it's hard. I think the hardest thing is to take the personal responsibility. You know, I think Dennis talked about that this morning, is the accountability to ourselves, that the reason my life is the way it is today is because of me. It has nothing to do with my spouse, has nothing to do with my boss, has nothing to do with, you know, the environment, the economy. It has nothing to do with anything but me. If I want to change my world, all I have to do is change me, and it's amazing what happens to the rest of the world.
Let's shift gears. I know that you're a great student of success literature and you've read all the best books. Let's start by asking you, what are some of the real big books? Obviously, As a Man Thinketh, and you mentioned Magic of Thinking Big. What are some other books that you would recommend people read?
Well, you know, it's the classics. It's the books I think everybody has read that has influenced everybody. Think and Grow Rich has got to be, you know, near the top of that list. Nightingale Conant says that's the #1 success classic of all time. It's where Napoleon Hill interviewed 500 of the wealthiest people, most successful people in America, and did basically 20 years it took him to gather the data that's in that book. And that has to be a first on everybody's list, or near the top. Acres of Diamonds, very simple, short, 150, 160-year-old book. Again, and the continuous thing that goes through the theme through all of these books is it's all timeless, simple wisdom. Jim talked about at lunch today, but there's just a handful of principles. You read those principles in five major pieces of the life puzzle that Jim wrote. The wisdom never changes. What changes is the messenger. And, you know, we all relate to different people. So, you know, I relate to Jim Rohn, so I'm going to hear words that someone else heard, and they're going to strike me in a different way. But the principles are very, very few. The principles are timeless. They don't change. The messenger changes. But you take, you know, those 4 or 5 books, I think they're a must-read for everybody. And then, I mean, I've probably read 1,000 books in the last 10 years. So yeah. We don't have time to go through the whole list.
It was a funny exchange between Dennis and Jim when I said something about, you know, the success principles, and one of them said 10, the other one said 7, then they went down to 5, and you could see they were both thinking, you know what, it's even more simple than that, right? And you boil it right down.
Right.
So As you've seen successful people, and you've had a lot of success in your own life, you've been a student of success literature, you've worked with a lot of successful people, how would you boil down the principles of success? I mean, what are the basic things if the average person watching today says, I want to start, here's where I want to start, I need to turn my life around, I need to take it to the next level. What are the 3 or 4 principles we can say, start here, and you're going to be moving your life in the right direction and relatively quickly?
I think, Chris, one principle, really, go to work on yourself. Go to work on yourself. As long as I struggled to try to change everything in my life outside of me, it was frustrating, it was discouraging, it was a pretty miserable life. The day that I got humble and went to work on myself and said, you know, if what they're saying is true, that all I've got to do is go change who I am and everything else will change, then I went to work, and I went to work as hard on me as anything that I've ever done. I'll give you an example in 1997 and the importance of being at seminars like this. I was at a seminar in 1997, and I heard the magic words, the size of your success will never exceed the size of your belief. Chris, I went to work for 90 days with one goal, to change my belief systems, to create belief in myself, belief in my goals, belief in my vision, and that's all I did. To the exclusion of almost everything else, I became obsessed. My life's never been the same since. Within 90 days, I could recognize a change. Within 6 months, there were major things happening in my life. Within 1 year, my life didn't even look the same. So one thing, change one thing, and that's start on yourself, because here's what's going to happen. When you start working on yourself, all the other things will come. When you begin to work on yourself, one of the first things you're going to learn is the power of your thinking. So you're going to start changing. You're going to start monitoring it. You're going to start monitoring what you read. You're going to start monitoring what you listen to. You're going to start monitoring the stuff that goes in. That's all those principles will come. All the principles that Jim and Dennis talked about this morning at lunch today. All those principles will come as a natural result of working on yourself.
It's like Jim says, work harder on yourself than you do on your job.
Well, you know what I love? You know, the thing I love that he says is, become a millionaire, not for the money, but for what it'll do for you. It's what you become as a result of that. To me, that puts in perspective really what it's all about. You know, is, oh yeah, it's nice to have the money. It's nice to do some of the things that I get to do. But you know what I'm even more happy about? I'm more happy that I've made some progress. Am I there? No, I've got a long way to go, but I've come a long way. And that's the exciting part about it. It's the journey. And Jim talked about the journey and how great the journey is. It has been a tremendous journey, and it's all been right in here.
As we wrap up, you know, I always like to ask this question, you know, if you had one last chance to address an audience, and it was your last chance, and the good Lord said to you, hey, you get one more shot, I'm giving you 2 minutes, and you got an audience of 1,000 people, what do you tell them? What's deep in your heart that you just want people to know and to get?
I think, Chris, that it is we're all the same. You know, there's not any difference in any of us. We all hurt, we all cry, we're all frustrated, we're all discouraged. We all feel like failures. We all doubt ourselves. It's no different. Everybody I've ever met, every success I've ever met was the same way. I think the average millionaire in America has been near bankruptcy or in bankruptcy 3.2 times before they make it. We never think of that. All we do is we see the success and we think that's how they've been all along. No, they cried. There were nights when they doubted. There were days when they didn't know how they were going to keep the lights turned on, and sometimes the lights got turned out. It's all the same for all of us. We're not any different. We were programmed by the same Creator, and that Creator programmed us with the same thing, instilled in us the same thing, and we're all, when you boil it all down, there's not a dime's worth of difference in any of us. We all have the heart. We all have everything it takes. He gave us everything we need. All we have to do is develop it.
And that's a message of hope.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It gives people, no matter where they're at, they're able to say, hey, I can do this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, in fact, Dennis was talking to me a little bit earlier, and he was saying the same thing. He said, you know, we have such a culture of celebrity that tells us some people are better than others, but
Right.
he says, I'm no better than anybody else, and none of these people are any better than anybody else. And that's a belief, I think, that we have that, oh, that person's better than me, smarter than me, more, you know.
We're always comparing ourselves.
Yeah.
But there's really nothing to compare to. It's where we are and where we're going. And where you're going has absolutely nothing to do with where you're at, except learn the lessons from where you're at, because you're going to need them when you get where you're going.
Super. This is Chris Widener, and we again are at the Jim Rohn Weekend Leadership Event. It's been my privilege to interview Vic Johnson, the president and founder of AsAManThinketh.net and MP3Motivators.com. And so, thank you very much,
Thank you,
Vic.
Chris.
Great stuff. Super.